Alright guys, this is it. The review of the final issue of Last Stand of the Wreckers. This is both an awesome day and a really sad day because I'm gonna be really bummed out that I won't be able to read or review any more of the series until the trade comes out, and might as well just get started. So obviously, I said that I have all of the Trevor Hutchinson covers for this series, so this is, of course, the Trevor Hutchinson cover, which is purple, and it's just a Transformers hand kind of implying that somebody is dead, which is kind of the theme of this comic, is that people die. And the Nick Roche cover for this is awesome, super cool, like it a lot. It is Impactor and Springer fighting in front of a silhouette of Overlord, and in front of them is just a bunch of like tombstones, Autobot tombstones, and it just looks super epic. Like, if I had to pick one cover to be like the cover of the series, it would probably be that one, because I feel like it kind of embodies at least the feeling of like the last issue for sure, but I don't know. I like that cover a lot. So, we open to the first page, and the first image we see is Overlord ripping Guzzle in half. Yeah, when I first read this issue, I was like, there is nothing more depressing than having Guzzle die on the first page. And watch the entire review before you comment or correcting me on that. Thanks. And through this entire issue, we kind of have narration from a Fistitron data log, which is actually titled The Story of The Last Stand of the Wreckers, so title of the comic, ties in, it's cool. And then Overlord starts going on about how, oh, you didn't think he would survive, you guys are just a distraction, I'm getting ready for the main course, which is of course Megatron. And then Impactor stabs him in the eye and says, you talk too much. And then we get a very cool looking panel with him saying, come here and say that. By the way, there is a lot of really cool stuff in this issue, like the entire book. I mean, the whole series is drawn well, but this whole book the artwork is just mind-blowingly awesome. And then we go back to the Aquatus chamber where we left it in the last issue was they were trying to decide whether or not they should set off all the deterrence chips, which would kill all the Decepticons, which seems like an awesome idea. Too bad Impactor would also be killed because he is an ex-con like the rest of the Decepticons. And it was left to Iron Fist to make that decision. And Verity is trying to convince Iron Fist, like, if you do this, you're gonna be killing what the Wreckers is really about, and, you are the spokesperson for the Wreckers, and why would you want to destroy what you've already created? And Iron Fist says, you don't know what Impactor did, and Verity explains that it doesn't really matter what he did, it's that the fact that if Iron Fist chose to kill him, he would be destroying his, like, version of the Wreckers, which is the Wreckers that he has shared with everybody else through his data logs. So it's kind of interesting in my opinion. And Perceptor decides that no, they're just gonna go ahead and they're gonna fight it out. But then Pyro says, no, we're gonna run, or you guys are going to run. And Pyro has decided that he is going to sacrifice himself to make some time for the others to get away. And Pyro explains that, like, no, it's not the super glorious way that he was planning on going out, but he figures that dying to save people that he cares about is more important and is the best that he can do in the situation, so it's equivalent. And as they're on the way out, Pyro also apologizes to Verity, saying, it's not that you humans need us, it's the other way around. And after everyone is out of the way, Pyro just opens the door and lets the Decepticons in. And Verity even asks Iron Fist, how long do you think Pyro will last? And he says, oh, I'm sure he'll put up a good fight. And in that same panel where he says that, we see Pyro being brutally torn apart by the Decepticons, and it's just like, it's really brutal. And that, of course, would be the end of Pyro. One more character who has not made it to the end of the series. Great. And so then we find out that Perceptor and Verity and Iron Fist and Fort Max, who they are still carting around, are going to find the others in the Spark Extraction Chamber after they stop off at a munitions store because Iron Fist has an idea. And Verity says, hey, remember when I said that it didn't matter what Impactor did? I was lying, so tell me what really happened. And then Iron Fist says that basically the story that he originally told about the Wreckers on Pova wasn't really quite what he thought it was. And we see how that whole thing really played out, which was a little bit different. basically, when Springer gets caught under all the debris, it's not quite as buddy-buddy as Iron Fist had originally told it. It was more Springer asking Impactor not to leave him, and Impactor being like, well, the only way that I can save us both is if I shoot you and, you know, through your midsection and I can get a clear shot at Squadron X. And then Springer's like, no, that would suck, please don't do that. And he's like, no, I'm gonna do it anyway. So it's way less valiant and cool and way more like, wow, Impactor's really mean. And it's kind of funny when Impactor says, you know, oh, just use your circuit dampeners, you'll be fine. And Springer's like, I don't have any of those. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. So after he gets shot through, he actually passes out. And when he wakes up, he sees Impactor is speaking with Prowl, saying that they have caught Squadron X and that they're ready for them to be picked up. But when Prowl finds out that they are on Pova, he's like, hey, we kind of have a problem. He explains it that Pova was granted an exemption status under Article 6 of the Neutrality Agreement, and that they're actually off limits to fight there. So Prowl says that they're going to have to let Squadron X go. And so then Prowl signs off and Impactor's like, yeah, that's not going to happen. And he goes in and we see Squadron X kind of all put together. The thing is, these guys aren't like an Iron Fist version of the story, they had broken out and they were like attacking people. And this, they look pretty pathetic. Like, they're not really doing anything right now. But Impactor just goes and he shuts the door, and then he one by one shoots them all. And as this is happening, Springer's trying to break in, and once he finally gets in, he's already killed them all, and we get this really, really cool splash page. But after that, we go back to Overlord, who is still, of course, fighting Springer and Impactor, and he actually steps on Impactor, which looks like it sucks a lot. And Springer says, oh, you know, you think you've won, I'm sure the rest of my wreckers has already gone and, you know, freed all the other inmates. And we find out that actually when Overlord originally found out that the wreckers were even there, he told all the Decepticons to kill all of the prisoners, which would be all the Autobots. And here we actually get kind of like an echo to a panel of 3 frames we'd actually seen in a previous issue, where it's the same 3 Autobots, but they're all brutally murdered. And I have to say, that first one, that just really sucks to be decapitated and have an Autobot symbol shoved in your mouth. That's not fun at all. So there is no backup for the wreckers. It's them and nothing else, because the rest of the Autobots there are dead.